I think because of Dad, I've learned to do the right thing at the right time in any circumstance.
He was shy and self-confident. He certainly played to win.
I don't think there's ever such a caring man, family-oriented man that I know.
Everything he did was brilliant. He was a true leader.
Lorne Alfred Samuel Hubber, aka Hub, was born during a terrific blizzard on January 30th, 1939. Apparently one of the worst blizzards that Hamilton has ever seen. So the story goes that his mom needed blood, and the word went out, and his dad and his Uncle Bill trudged through this horrific snowstorm up the Hamilton Mountain to the Henderson Hospital to give blood. It's been a standing joke between Hub and his good friend Ron. Hub has had 2 birth certificates. Apparently his dad was so excited when he was born that he registered him on the 31st instead of the 30th. So he's carried around these 2 birth certificates, and poor Ron has had to look after him 2 days in a row every year.
We've been friends for 65 years and got to know Hub at SS number 6 Barton School. Number 6 Barton School was where Denninger's is now on Upper James Street.
I guess I first met him when I was about 19, 20 years old, and he was about 13 or 14. I was assistant scoutmaster at the Barton Stone Church.
We were in the same Cub pack, and it became, I think, a real key component in Hub's life and ultimately his career. He excelled at all those kinds of things.
I always admired how he used to always look after his money. He was pretty smart with money.
On my life, I couldn't have asked for a nicer older brother. He always seemed to take care of me, and I needed a lot of taking care of because I seemed to get into a lot of trouble.
Hub's mom and dad played a big part in our early married life. We spent a lot of time playing bridge with them.
The one thing I do remember, once Lorne and Liz were married, that they would often come on a Friday night or a Saturday night and play cards sitting around the dining room or the kitchen table, but they would play bridge. So I always just sort of sat and tried to absorb as much as I could. You always had to concentrate, and they would be making all these bids and everything, but they played cards with Mom and Dad a lot. And that's probably too, Mom and Dad, it's probably where Lorne got a lot of his, I guess, drive would be, because I think both my mom and my dad, or our mom and dad, worked hard.
Lorne is more like a father to me than a brother. In all honesty, being 17 years old, older than I am, he's always been there for me. I was 21 when our father passed away, and Lorne sort of stepped in and filled those shoes.
When Dad died, he was there for Mom, and when Mom died, he was certainly there for the six kids. And I really think that he taught me to be family oriented, and I think our whole family proves that.
I think Hub's dad had a big influence on Hub. He was a very hard worker. He enjoyed simple pleasures, being out in his garden, fishing, especially with his sons. He liked sports. He liked to play cards, and he worked very hard to provide for his family.
Lorne used to be like the dandy little worker. Our mom used to always say that he was a dandy little worker. It didn't matter what he did, he put his heart and soul into everything he did. And she sort of nicknamed him the dandy little worker. And to this day, we all sort of say, oh, the dandy little worker, Lorne's the dandy little worker.
One of my best memories of Dad is when he and I would plant the garden together. He's a very dandy little worker, and I loved the memories of being outside with him.
Well, one of the big memories, or one of the earliest ones, is when he would be gardening down by the river, and as a little kid you'd always want to be right beside him, and he'd always say, "Move along, little doggy." So he was always moving, and stayed in one place too long, he would push you along to keep you moving, picking the asparagus or the tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever it was. So.
But the thing I remember most about that was what he used to wear, because he had these blue and purple checkered pants, and I don't know, those were his weekend clothes, I think, working in the garden clothes. And we have a good laugh about those pants sometimes.
While I was growing up, I remember that Dad was always working. It didn't matter if it was he was in at Lancaster during the regular week, or on the weekend he would also go to Lancaster. But the second that he came home, he continued working. He was either in the garden or out at the pool or making everything look excellent.
Growing up in Caledonia, it's a small town, so you know everybody in town, and still live in Caledonia, and you walk down the street and still run into people that you grew up with, so it's a nice place to grow up.
Caledonia was a great place to grow up. We felt very connected in the community, and I think it was through our mom and dad's connections and our grandparents' connections that it made it a really safe and social place to be.
My parents built the house there, and my mom and dad were wonderful hosts and loved to entertain, and so we always had family and friends around for Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas dinners, Easter dinners, pool parties, all kinds of family get-togethers. I remember my dad every night coming home from work and sitting in the family room in the orange lazy boy chair with a big swag lamp above him, and he would have a drink and relax, read the paper, maybe even have one of his famous power naps.
Hub is the only person in this whole wide world that could sit down in a chair and fall asleep in 2 seconds and awake in 5 minutes and be totally refreshed.
Hub absolutely loves the Tiger Cats. He's been a subscriber for over 50 years now, and the Tiger Cats have figured prominently on both sides of the family for many generations.
I do remember that when he and Liz got married, he was late to his wedding because the Hamilton Tiger Cats were playing and he had to watch the football game. So he was in a little trouble, I think, for that.
Hub's mom would knit Tiger Cat toques for the men. And I know on a couple of occasions when we were at Grey Cups in Toronto that Hub happened to lose his. So the next year, Hub's mom made him a new one with straps that he could tie under his chin. And that's the last one that he's ever needed.
My earliest memory of Hub is when I was around 12, and I had been playing tennis in the courts behind the Caledonia Presbyterian Church. And when I was finished, I was walking home, and it's only a couple of blocks home, and I saw this little green car pull up beside me, and it was Hub asking me if I wanted to ride home. And I accepted, but I wondered why he was asking me, because it was only 2 blocks before I got home. And I figured out really quickly that he wanted some inside information on my sister Liz.
Because I was only about 4 when I met Hub, when he started dating Liz, I remember Hub all my life. And he came to our house with a car. We didn't have a car, so he was pretty special. And we didn't have a brother, and he soon became our brother. So again, he was very, very special.
We used to play catch quite a bit, and we used to go watch him play hockey and baseball. And he was trying to always play baseball. He wasn't a bad player.
Dad, he had a ball team, and we used to go to all the games. One night we noticed 2 fellas from Mount Hope came to play. One of them was Craig Ashbaugh, and the other one was Hub. We noticed Hub was a good baseball player. He could hit the ball. It was just something about the legs. They didn't seem to want to go around. the bases. But he finally made it, and it was all, you see, a home run, and we would cheer. I remember Hub was kind of laid back and quiet, but lots of fun. Liz was allowed to stay out later than me, but I think it was because Dad liked Hub and trusted him. And he was right. We spent a lot of time at the arena skating, and I remember one night we stopped, and all of a sudden I noticed a really nice-looking guy standing there in a Mountie uniform. And Hub looked up, and here it was Hub's brother Bob, and I guess he had flown in from out west. Hub was shocked when he saw him, and it was a nice surprise for Hub.
So I've known him since he first started coming to Caledonia when he was playing baseball, and he started dating a good friend of mine down the street.
I first met Hub when he came out to play baseball at Emperor Square in Caledonia for the Caledonia Clippers. We lived on the corner of the square, and my dad was one of the assistant coaches. He was a terrific ball player. Not many balls got past second base, and a very good hitter. And that's where I got to first meet him.
A lot of guys from Mount Hope chose to go to Hamilton. Some went to Caledonia. So we always talked baseball on the country bus as we were coming in, and the guys from Mount Hope, Eddie Lee, Ollie Harris, and Herb Leeming, and they came and we got talking. They said, well, why don't you come out to Caledonia and play ball instead of going into the city of Hamilton? And so that's what we did. The next year we went out to Caledonia and played juvenile, and that's how we got to get involved with all these people, all the guys we met at Caledonia. We didn't know anybody till we went out there to play ball.
And I've known Hub for approximately 52 years. My first exposure to him is when I was a teenager. The dating game around town was, we didn't have much to do for entertainment, so we'd go out and watch the local baseball team, and the Caledonia Clippers were the team of choice around town. And shortly after I got there, I noticed this squat little guy playing second base, and I couldn't believe how very seldom was there ever a ball went by him. He always knew exactly where to play, it seemed. And then when he got up to the plate, he was an awesome hitter. And over the years, I kidded him about he was my baseball hero, and how my introduction to baseball was watching the Clippers and the second baseman, Lorne Hubbard.
If it hadn't been for the baseball stuff, we'd have never been there, we'd have never been here.
And we were both in Kinsman right away. He was already there. But we became very close friends right around that time in the early 60s, mid-60s, and then we started to have families. And coincidentally, we had kids almost at the same time, 3 of them, both of us. And we became sort of like an intertwined or an extended families, I would say, between the 2 of us.
I think the biggest impact that, Hub had on me was he introduced me to Kinsman. And of course, when we moved into that house in '67, he introduced me into Kinsman that year, and that had a profound impact on the rest of my life, I guess, really. Because people I met in Kinsman, and it changed the whole course of my career and everything else. So yeah, he had a tremendous impact.
As I grew older, I became their babysitter instead of them babysitting me. And I remember all my friends babysat at the exact same time I did, because we all babysat because Hub and Liz were involved in Kinsman and Kinnets. So all my friends, we all had people that we babysat for all. There was a lot of Kinsman and Kinnet events, and Hub was on the PUC, so it created a lot of babysitting opportunities. And every time he drove me home, he would pay me, and I'd just about drop off the seat with the amount he gave me. And I'd go, Hub, I don't have any change. He goes, no, it's for you. And you know, I'd talk later to the girls that babysat at the exact same time for the same event, and they would get half of what I did. And the silly thing is, I would have babysat for free because I love babysitting my nieces and nephew. But Hub was very generous. That's what I'm getting at. Always generous.
I remember, I don't know if he started it or your granddad, Ken Burr, started it, but the Caledonia Kinsmen were always famous for their happy hours or their cocktail hours. And the fellowship of that group, you know, really I felt was a strong bond that kept the group together. You know, and somebody would maybe have a problem or a concern or be upset about something. Hub would get them in the corner, maybe with a cocktail, maybe not. And when they got done, things were straightened out. Hub just had that kind of respect from people who got to know him, especially at the district level. Hub was such a leader in my view. And Hub had that attitude, well, you know, follow me, we'll get there.
Part of the Kinsman deal was we used to go around to different clubs and play euchre. And Hub and I formed a great team, very seldom beaten by any other teams. In fact, we won the district euchre championship in Cambridge.
We were sitting there in the wee hours of the morning, me and another younger fellow, and Lorne and one of Lorne's associates, let me say, a seasoned veteran in the euchre world. And after the wee hours of the morning, I went home to change my clothes to go to work and proceeded to pick up a check to pay Lorne for the lesson that I had just got the night before. And that's probably the last time I ever played euchre for money with Lorne at the Kin Club. So,
I'm Lorne Huber, past president of Lancaster Sheet Metal, and I've been with Lancaster Sheet Metal since 1959. This is the picture of where I was born and where Lancaster started. And this is Hester Street through here. And our family house was about here. And eventually Arnold Urick, who was, I guess, the first president, built a house here, just past those trees. And that's where Lancaster automatic heating started, in his garage.
First location of Lancaster was in Arnold York's garage, and the office was in his house. And we used to go back and forth between the garage and the house to the side window for anything we needed.
It's hard to believe that this company developed all from the den. It's amazing, or garage. Yeah. Like, it's amazing. Yeah.
I was the bookkeeper and did the payroll, did all the banking and estimating.
From the garage, we moved to 128 Luscombe Street. And we were there until we moved into this building with the idea they're going to build the Red Hill Creek Expressway. Well, that came along one after I retired, so.
I think his partner, Bob, they were like two different people. They both had something. And I think the success of any partnership is that each partner has to bring something different to the table. If you're going to have a partner that has the same, you know, thing that brings the same thing that you bring, then why have a partner? And so I think that he made that, the two of them made that partnership last for a long, long time. And I think that Bob Graham did have a big influence on Hub.
When people ask me how we got along together or how we did so well together, my usual answer was, well, I got a partner that's a good business head, and I know which end of a hammer to use.
I know Lorne. I started working for Lancaster in 1980, and that's where I met him. To have a boss like Lorne is a once in a lifetime. Thank God I did my last lifetime with Lorne.
My career started at Lancaster about 15 years ago when I became an apprentice. Worked out in the field for 3 or 4 years and then moved into the office to learn the estimating game. I learned that from my dad and a couple other estimators in the office. While working with my father, it's more training by the environment, by osmosis a little bit.
The best part of working at Lancaster for me was being able to work with my dad. I would literally sit in his office in the chair across from him and watch him work and listen to him while he was on the phone talking to suppliers and customers.
I mean, working that close beside somebody, you'd be surprised you get to pick up on everything. You pick up on how they operate with customers, how they operate with their people, how they get people to come along and follow. He had a real good talent for getting everybody to join in.
I like to say that he always erred on the side of generosity. So no matter when there was a decision point, if there was a generous versus a not generous option, or a kind versus a not kind option, he always was generous and always kind to other people.
I was inspired by Lorne because of how he operated. He was so polished and really, I considered him at the top of the heap in the industry.
When I was younger, my dad went to Lorne and asked him if I could get a job at Lancaster. And they hired me, and from 18, I've been working there 47 years. I just retired this year. And Lorne's always been the silent boss. He used to be he's the owner, but he never told me what to do or nothing, and it was always pretty easy to work for. He used to estimate the job, so I used to always have to give him a heck for not giving me enough time to do the job, but it's pretty hard to give him heck.
In my later life, I was a bank teller, and I do know that when I mentioned to people who were in business and similar businesses and sometimes would have dealings with Lancaster, when I mentioned that I was Lorne's sister, there was always the respect that from the other businessmen that was given to Lorne as a business person.
He had the place under control. Like he did it without any demands or there wasn't even any written rules. It's just you operate the way Lorne operates. And I heard many a time somebody saying, "Ooh, I wouldn't do that. I don't think Lorne will like that." Well, okay, we won't do that. Let's do this. It was just a known fact that he had high standards, and he was a man of integrity, and we just all followed, and people followed. Everybody was very good at joining in.
He never gets too high or too low on any event that is happening around him, and he always expects the unexpected. So that's allowed him to trek on when times are good and when times are bad, but he always had enough in reserves, or he never tipped the scales one way or the other in any extreme. So I think that was another reason why Lancaster and my dad were so successful.
I think one of the greatest assets I always saw from Lancaster and from Lorne as a person is he never really got himself in too many what I would call in business compromising positions. He was always really straight up with us on who else he was bidding to, because our business and my particular business is a lot of negotiated work, so sometimes it becomes relatively ticklish to have the same guy bidding to 3 or 4 different what I would call competitors. I think what Lorne has done in Lancaster is still done today is been straight up and honest, and we've been able to grow the business by understanding exactly where everybody stood in the pecking order and the marketplace.
Well, I got a lot of support from my secretary. She worked at the house. She was my wife. Yeah, over the years, a lot of my support came from home. This is probably her calling on the telephone right now to wonder where the heck I am.
You have 1 new and 3 saved messages.
1 new.
To play your messages, press 1. Recorded today at 4:38 p.m. Mr. Hubbard, if you're still there, give me a call before you come home, please. Okay, see ya.
Did you hear that?
This message will be saved. What'd you want?
Mr. Hubbard. Call home before you leave. She wants me to pick something up.
A typical day, if there is or was such a thing, would be Hub leaving for work early in the morning, working hard all day at Lancaster, coming home for dinner, which was always late, 7 o'clock-ish, and then he'd be off to a meeting for the PUC. He was chairman for 33 years of the Haldeman Hydro. He was and is a life member of the Kinsman Club. That was always on a Thursday night. He led a very busy life. One of the earliest memories I have is attending a Christmas party at Arnold Urick's, one of the founding partners. And lo and behold, this monkey was swinging amongst the guests. I was shocked and couldn't believe that this married man with 4 children and a business running out of his house would have this monkey as a pet.
Oh, we used to have a lot of good times at Lancaster. We used to have this dog at Lancaster named Queenie, and we put a dog door in. Every Christmas we used to get juiced up a bit and try to crawl through the dog door. Hub never made it, of course.
We picked up a job in Kyrgyzstan on top of the Tyne Shane Mountains in 1995. I myself went there. I was vice president at the time, and I myself went there. It was the biggest job that Adam Clark had ever done. It was about 1 million man-hours. And Lorne's crew came over there and did the sheet metal and did an absolutely fantastic job. I think it was a very substantial job to Lorne. Everything had to be, fabricated and installed. It was at 4,200 meters above sea level. It was right on top of the Tyne Shane Mountains. So it was logistically an absolute tiger to do. And we ended up doing it, when we got to the job, it was 8 months over schedule. We ended up turning the button a day early. So that's pretty remarkable, halfway around the world. And I think probably that's certainly what set us apart from on the mining scene, and I think put Lorne and Lancaster in a different light in the mining industry too.
I got a fabulous life. Like, when you sit in my shoes, and I'm going out and I'm going home, and I got a beautiful family, and I got everything you think of, but I got all the things that go with it. And I'm telling you right now, that was all from Lancaster Sheet Metal. It was a combined effort on everybody's part, and Lorne Hubbard was definitely the best leader going. That's how he affected my life.
I know Lorne from back probably in the early 80s, and that we met. Lorne and I were both directors on the Hamilton Sheet Metal Contractors Association. What a lot of people don't realize is that Lorne was instrumental in the starting of the Ontario Sheet Metal Contractors Association and was actually its first president back in 1971.
Well, because the local association had to appoint or have somebody represent them. And through the Hamilton Sheet Metal Contractors Association, I agreed to do it.
Lorne served actually representing the Hamilton Sheet Metal Contractors on OSM's Labor Relation Council for in excess of 20 years, and half of that time he served as the council vice chair. I met Lorne in 1990 when I became the executive director of the Ontario Sheet Metal Group. We got to know one another pretty well, particularly in the labor relations aspect of the association business. At that period, there was a lot of issues with the union. There was always, a lot of different points of view, a lot of different agendas. And in the early 90s, when you met with the union, it was kind of an adversarial situation.
Lorne had always dealt with the labor issues of the association and reported into us. And I believe he did 3 rounds of negotiations. They're done every 3 years in provincial negotiations for our association. I recently did that same negotiation this year and have a new found respect for the process. Well, I think he took his responsibilities in labor negotiations very seriously. I think he was very progressive and found many solutions for us over the years that we've had issues.
And I came to the industry and put on my adversarial hat because I figured that's the way you did things. But I learned from watching Lorne that that wasn't necessarily the best way to do things. Because for whatever reason, and particularly the Hamilton Union, had a lot of faith in Lorne and trusted him in a lot of, a lot of issues that they had. And through Lorne, I kind of realized that, union management didn't need to be adversarial. What it had to have was trust, honesty, and the sense that when you said something, that they could rely on it.
When Construction House was opened, it was a very unique venture, and Lorne was key to making that happen.
Originally, they were on King Street, and we built a new building on York Street, and it opened when I became president.
He was a powerful voice within the Sheet Metal Association, and it was the Sheet Metal Association coming to the table as one of the partner associations that put the balance in so that trade associations, the general contractors, and the HCA could make this work. Most people don't know this, but this is a unique facility in Canada. There's never been a joint venture association building like this built in the construction industry in Canada, and this one's still owned the same way. Lorne was key to making that happen. I remember the grand opening of Construction House in 1984. Lorne was president. He was going to do the ceremonial duties, and we got picketed. They were trying to block the entrance. We brought Ann Jones, the regional chair, in through the back door so she could participate in the grand opening. And Lorne was ready to go up front, representing the industry with his chromed sheet metal shears, ready to have the ribbon cut. Lorne doesn't usually like to be up front. In this case, we had the kind of representative of the smallest partners, the Sheet Metal Association, representing the whole industry, and it was a great day.
I met Lorne for the very first time at a bid depository committee meeting. And when I first met Lorne, he was the chairman of the committee at the time. And being new to the association and really new to construction, I was a wee bit nervous about attending the meeting. But Lorne put me at ease immediately. Lorne has the most magnificent smile and a kind of cute chuckle that I always felt comfortable with him in his presence, and he helped me get through that meeting. It was always a very slippery slope sometimes to try to make decisions and gain momentum in the bid depository arena because you had so many different stakeholders with different opinions about it. But Lorne, as the leader of that committee, was able to, make sure everyone was heard and do what's best for the industry.
I often felt that Lorne was really the only team player in the room at that time. Now, it might have been an issue that, somebody had felt it was critical to them, and that, once people get a sense that it's critical, then they're not going to give up like a dog with a bone. And the issue would be, a tiny component of the big picture. But you never saw Lorne sort of cling to those things.
Well, I certainly did learn to try to be more calm and patient and listen to what other people have to say and sort of understand the emotion behind a lot of things that happen, depending on the stakes.
I have learned a lot from Lorne. Probably the greatest thing is patience. And then that again is his ability to deal with the union and to get somewhere with them, to have them see his point of view, but at the same time allowing the union to think they won.
So I kind of feel like Lorne's kind of like paved the way as a good example for people contributing to the industry as a whole.
traveling on behalf of Lancaster was always fun and exciting. In particular, the SMACNA conventions. Our first one was in Dallas, and it was just wonderful. I'd never experienced such an extravaganza. We've been across North America for the SMACNA conventions. We took the kids to Washington one year, and they really enjoyed the kids program. We went to Nashville, Hawaii. Just every convention was special, and it was fun to travel with Bruce and Maureen and Bob and Betty, the Hamilton people, Rick and Judy Gwidlin. I remember a convention with the HHCA and being in Vancouver with Lee and Lois Kirkby. We had a great time riding bikes around Stanley Park. It was just always fun.
I think throughout the whole time, part of what we really enjoyed is my wife Lois and Liz got along really well. It didn't matter where we were, even if we hadn't seen each other for 3 or 4 years, as soon as we got together, it was like old times.
Hub is a very well-liked person. I don't think there's a Hub as an enemy in the world. You can't help but like him, because what's not to like, you know? And I think that my kids could see all that, you know, because he was such a part of our family. And he had this way about him, and he was always interested in what they were doing and always talking to them, including them like they were, you know, we're all on the same level, so to speak. He never came across as, well, you know, I'm a sort of a parent. Not with my kids, and I don't think with his own either, to be honest. And so, I mean, I think that he had a profound impact on them as they grew up. That, you know, you could be a nice guy and still be successful, you know.
His compassion for others, too, I saw over the years with family. I saw the way he looked after sisters and sisters-in-law and in-laws and mother. And a neat story that I don't know if he even has heard, but when his mother came to sell her house on Dickinson Road, she had me sell it. And we were negotiating the deal, and it wasn't quite what we wanted, and it was a decision to be made. And Mrs. Hubbard said, "Oh, I so wish Lorne was here." And he was away on holidays at the time. She said, "He always seemed to know the right thing to do and did it." You know.
If I was here, I would say, "Thank you, Hub. You're the brother I always wanted, and you're the brother that we all needed. God bless you, Hub."
Hub has been the rock of our family, of the Bursch family, and of the Hubbard family for over 50 years. He is so generous and patient, accepting, and he always puts the other person first. He's a pretty special guy.
Trying to describe Lorne in one word is really hard.
Pretty good, not bad.
How about 2 words? Honest businessman.
Oski wee wee.
If I could describe Lorne in one word, Lorne is compassionate.
Lorne is compassionate.
The word that comes to mind with Lorne is dedication.
Perseverance is one. Loyalty is another.
Lorne is solid.
Hub is my best friend.
Lorne is thorough.
Dad is generous. Dad is grounded in his faith. And Dad is silly.
Lorne is helpful. Lorne is a leader.
Lorne is fair.
If I had to describe Lorne in one word, it would be loving.
Hub is super competitive.
My dad is very caring.
One word to describe Lorne, I would say, is integrity.
Hub is generous in spirit, generous in heart.
Well, I always think of Hub first and foremost as a family man.
Dad is a family man.
Hub is a very strong and caring family man.
Hub is patriarch, the head of the Hubbard family.
He has been the patriarch to all of us, and we are just so grateful for his generosity and his ever-ending faithfulness to all of us.
Dad is beloved.
Hub is steadfast. Hub is very tender-hearted. And he's the love of my life.
Gave me my life of working and the rest of it, you know. He's just one fine brother.